A very good morning to you and welcome to Signature Morning. My name is Godwin Sunday. And we're broadcasting live from Nigerian's political capital, Abuja. Well, in a recent development, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed the immediate release of all minors who were arrested over their alleged participation in the August End Bad Governance protests. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, DMG Idris Mohammed, announced this to State House correspondents during an emergency briefing at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja. Well, Idris gave this an order for the directive by the president, which we're going to be dabbling into this morning on the show. So I have a very phenomenal personality this morning on the show. We're talking to us about the state of the boy child in Nigeria, and he is Dr. Babatunde Kayode, MNI, and is Executive Director, Restore Hope for the Boy Child Initiative. You're welcome to Signature Morning.
Thank you very much for having me this morning.
All right, sir. Thank you. So let's even get into the conversation first. Who is a boy child? Because we have a lot of confusion right now going on in the world that the child can change his genitals and gender. So let's hear from you. Who is a boy child, and does the boy child have a right?
The boy child is that person, individual, that has the structure of a male physiologically, that has everything reproductive that indicates to be a boy, having every structure of a boy.
All right, so having a male physique and genital organs and what have you,
Yes.
can we say at this point that this child has a right?
He has rights. In fact, 2003, the rights of the child was approved, was passed into law. So there is Child Right Act of 2003. So the boy child has a right.
All right, so we're talking about the rights of the boy child this morning, and also the Nigerian juvenile systems. Again, let's look at the society. One would say that the society has so much affected the boy child that the boy child can no longer hold in chastity what they've ever held before, that is time of change. Well, how correct is this narrative?
Yeah, because of the happenings in the society. Growing up, you are very proud. Your parents will be so proud of you, in the sense that every family that does not have a male child, for example, if a woman is married to a man in the family, and if she's having only girl, it's assumed that that woman is not acceptable into the family until she produces a male child. So that is the level of integrity and respect that is given to the boy child in our society. So, and that respect is still there. But along the line, as things unfold now, begin to see that so many things are happening to the boy child because of the neglect of the society. So that is what is responsible.
All right, so to a large extent, can we now say that the boy child, the neglect of the boy child, as it stands right now, is due to parental negligence?
Yeah, but definitely, we have we have an example in our hands. There is a young man from a family who now has transgendered into is a man, but he has transgendered to a woman. That's such. He's from a family. He's from a home, and it's because of the neglect. If the parents were careful enough and show concern, I'm sure what we have now from him would not be seen it. It will not be seen by the whole world. But and you know that so many people, so many boys now, they see him as a mentor. They want to copy. He has disciples. Yes, he has, whether you like it or not, he has disciples. So many people look onto him and say, yes, I want to be. They are boys, but they want to be like a woman. And they have so many of them in the society. So it's an eyesore. It's an ugly situation that the boy child finds himself in our society.
Dr. Kawadi, we have a lot of boy child that in the rate of crime, it is alleged that the boys are more into crime, especially the boy child between the age of 11 to 17. Teenagers are engaging in more crime. But you are at the forefront of having conversations with some of these young minds.
Yes.
What has been your experience so far?
That's not, it's just the same thing. See, when we talk about the boy child, you know you yourself, you are a boy child.
All right. I agree.
There are so many neglects that you experience from society. There are so many things that is being done for the girl child. Skill acquisition, empowerment, even health. And you hear of a lot of on medical grants. Men have prostate cancers. Have you ever, how many government agencies have you seen embarking on awareness or treating free? So okay, prostate cancer treatment for men. We hear of cervical, you have all those sorts of breast cancer, you have screening all over. So what I'm saying, even you yourself, you're a boy child, you have been neglected by the society. Nothing is done, nobody cares. If you have any problem, who do you run to? The women, they have a Ministry of Women Affairs. They have Center for Women Development. Anything happens wherever the girl child is, you see the women, the Minister for Women Affairs running to it. But if it happens to the boy child, who is their voice? Where do you run to as a man? Where do you run to?
I thought it's believed that it's a male-dominated world.
What are you actually dominating? That was before. You see, that impression was that, well, there's too much neglect of the boy child, but inadvertently, the shift now is to the girl child, to the disadvantaged neglect of the boy child. So I think there is need for the balance. That's what my NGO is all about. Seeking for equality, gender equality.
Dr. Kayode,
Yes,
to a very large extent, the president's speech on the minors, that the immediate release of the minors and also ensuring that they've been restored back to their families. Yeah. It has brought us, it was an eye-opener to a lot of us, knowing fully well that minors can actually be detained in Nigeria. But let me hear from you at this point. What do you make of the scenario, of the situation of minors being detained in Nigerian correctional facilities?
I think it exists as an error to me. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal person, but I think anything.
And let's look at it from the society.
They are teenagers, and I think they should not be held for as much as that period. We're talking about 3 months. And you can see those boys when they were brought out into the courtroom, malnourished, not being cared for. So I think it's an error keeping them for such a
even though the Nigerian police have come out to allege that they are playing a script, they were acting.
But we saw those boys. We all saw those boys on TV. I saw them while they were brought in. I saw them in the courtroom. They are minors. So I saw some of, not all of them. Some of them, they are minors. So I think it's an error to keep them for such a period in the jail or in police custody.
Going by the various child rights acts that we have in Nigeria, although the judge have come out to say that some of these minors were actually not minors based on some of the means of identification found on them, so they can say they are allegedly.
That some of them are married, some of them they are graduates.
It's an alleged conversation based on, but let's look at, but facially most of them still look like minors.
Yes.
And the police officers have come out to say that they are acting in script, that most of them are just trying to just act in court, but most of them still look malnourished.
Exactly.
In that case,
exactly.
Is this to say that the boy child, if being caught in an act, nobody wants to hear his side of the story?
That's the exact thing that is happening. If they are girls, I can just assure you that they will have been released long time ago, because there are so many bodies, NGOs, so many organizations, even the Women Affairs, will have taken it up. Say, no, you can't keep them for such a long period. But because the boy child has nobody to speak for him, and that is what my NGO is trying to bring to the table, that there should be a voice for the boy child. If they are all girls, don't keep them. I can bet that they won't keep them for such a long time. But because they are boys, nobody speaks of them. You just say it's the normal thing. Just keep them. Let them be there. And you see the way they appear, malnourished. They are not being kept. They are not well fed. So it's a sorry situation.
So what does this tell us of a country like Nigeria? Does it tell us our care for the juveniles in Nigeria?
Why do we have banditry? Ask yourself, why do you have yahoo? Dropouts made from schools. Why do you have this? Because of the neglect. Why do you have the case of transgender in our society? A boy wanted to transform, that is transforming to be a girl. Because of the neglect. Everybody wants to make it. They see the shortest way to making it and say, well, I have to change. Like the boys, they have to take into criminalities in order to make it, because there is no policy, there is no arrangement for them to survive. So they have to survive. And the government, they are not even helping matters. You see governments going to schools to make a scholarship, aids available for the girl child, support. But you never hear any support for the boy child. In the society, there are a lot of skill acquisitions, empowerment. Every week you hear women empowerment. The government, they are also part of it. But you will not hear any guardian of any boy child being empowered. So why? You are leaving them to their fate, and they see the only way available for them is to turn into criminalities, into crime, and it has effect on the society, and that's why we have a lot of armed robbery and banditry. You have even the case of the Almongiris is not because of the boy child. Check just recently, the Minister of FCT talked about evacuating them from the streets.
Yeah.
Tell me, I mean, I've been to this Abuja streets. Majority of those on the street, they are boy child. They are there. You see them in large numbers. So they have negative effect on the society, and I think it's high time the governments begin to do something about the boy child, giving them concern. The neglect, the gap between the girl child and the boy child is too wide. It's too wide. It's too wide.
It's a very wide gap. But then again, looking at this whole incident of the boy child situation, the minors that were detained, and also the gap that you mentioned, Nigerians across board, especially in diaspora, we want to ask at this point, what do we make of a society where value for a child is not being held in high esteem?
There is this slogan that they are the leaders of tomorrow, but are they actually the leaders of tomorrow? There are responsibilities that the youth should be taken now. They should be to be seen to be as the pilots of this nation. But are they actually? Why we still have old people in the 70s, in the 80s, 80 years, 70 plus in government? We have the best governance when people like Gowan was in government. How old were they? Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's that time they allow the youth to take their rightful place in the society.
All right, speaking of youth taking their rightful place in the society, we also understand that some of these boys that were engaged, let's use the word allegedly engaged, to come fly out other countries' flags, as it were, they did use their money to purchase some of those flags that were flown, and there are a lot of questions that are begging for answer at this point. One of those questions is, can we now say that the government is afraid of going out for people that they think could be sponsors of the flags and also the financiers of that protest?
Well, I think to me, I believe those boys were sent by some people. You ask yourself, how do they get those flags? If you ask them, do they even know whose nation's flag they are holding? But some people are behind it, and I think, but I think I know that the government is actually investigating the entire and bad governance issue, protest. That there are people behind it. So I think the government is doing something about it, and I'm sure very soon maybe some will get to know everything about the protest. But I'm sure that those boys are not on their own. There are people that are supporting them.
Dr. Kaode,
Yes, sir.
after 3 months in detention, we're hearing for the first time, let's allege that it's for the first time, that minors have been given a bail, let's use the word probably to be bailed with 10 million.
Even, that's what I'm saying, even for them to be given bail of 10 million.
10 million in the face of the current Nigerian economy. We begin to ask again, which way Nigeria?
That's where you know that the government knows, they have the feeling that there are people behind them. Those boys, do they look like somebody that can even raise 10,000 naira? And you're asking them to be bailed with 10 million naira. So it's unfortunate.
But then again, we're not even looking at it from that angle. First, one would wonder, why are they not tried in a juvenile court? Why are they not tried in probably a court with a lower jurisdiction?
That is left to the lawyers to
No, I'm not. We are not even talking from the angle of the law. We're trying to look at it from the moral perspective.
Yes.
At this point in time, the younger, the boy child across Nigeria are looking up to this case as a precedent
Exactly.
for conversations in the future.
Yes.
Will this serve as a deterrent or further deteriorate the Nigerian boy-child history?
No, I think it will not in any way deter them from engaging and dialoguing with the government, which I believe that the government itself is into dialogue. That's why you see so many things happening now. Like in FCT, the minister just established the Secretariat for the Youth. It's part of the engagement. In the past, there was nothing like that. And I'm sure at federal level, we have the federal minister on youth. I'm sure they will engage. They will begin to engage with the youth now. There will be dialogue. What happened at the end bad governance protest is an eye-opener to the government, because there's a gap, like I told you. And now the government will do everything possible to begin to interface with dialogue, meeting them, and I'm sure there will be discussions along the lines, fruitful discussions. And you realize that in most cases you see youth being part of governance.
Dr. Kayode, let's go back to primary and secondary schools as where it is right now, where you try to discipline a child on this level. You're already laughing, Dr. Kayode. but you try to discipline a child on that level, and the child is telling you, not only beat you, go beat me.
Tired.
You go beat me tired.
Yes.
Oh, Dr. Kayode, I think you even have more experience than some of us on this field, because now this has been in
growing up was when there was discipline in schools. There was discipline. In those days, you see people that are not even your direct parents. You see that when you do something wrong in the society, they are the one that will discipline you. And your parents will say they should do more. But what do you have in this situation now? What do you have now, presently? You see, there was this story I heard on social media that the parents went to the child's school to beat up the teacher just for disciplining the child. It's a bad situation. Those days we are talking about, there was discipline, but now we have parents, we have read of parents writing exams for their children. So what are you telling me? So it's the level of decay, and we have lost that value system. We just pray that we'll get it right.
So, Dr. Kaude, yes, if the boy child that is growing up is going to use this case as a precedent for psychological development, what are we teaching the younger generation as it stands right now?
Like I told you, we have parents writing exams. In fact, I even heard of stories of parents going to, even at university level, private universities, of parents going to bribe teachers or lecturers so that they can pass their awards for their children. So tell me, what lesson is that child learning if that is from his or her parents? So honestly, there is need for something serious to be done. And that is why we have all the mess that we have around. They don't want to learn anything. They are not serious academically, even to whatever you want to give them, because they see that if they can always buy their way. They have parents, but the ones that their parents are not well to do, they take it to criminalities to survive. So the country, society is all about survival of the fittest. So they look for ways to survive, and they see the only way to survive is through maybe drugs, Yahoo, and whatever means they can do to survive. So they no longer value education as anything as way of life to their destiny. So it's a pity.
The boy child, the youths,
yes,
especially the teenagers, are perceived to be the future of every nation.
Yes.
With the current trajectory, is this narrative still intact?
Well, we still believe that they are still the future of this nation.
When you say you believe,
yes,
Dr. Kaude,
we must have faith, we must believe.
We are all optimistic,
yes,
but let's be practical.
Yes.
Going by the antecedent, just a simple inductive reasoning, just a simple, is there still future?
Yes, I don't think, to me, from my own experience and my interactions with the youth, I don't see them being the leaders of tomorrow, because they have lost it. Are they ready? Are they ready to go to school? The only thing that can give future to any child is education. If a child is educated, then he has a future. Then at least he can know his left from right, and he cannot be swayed to evil. He knows what is bad and what is good. But how many of them are ready to go to school now? How many of them are ready to work? It's money. Employ anyone to any office. What they are after is money. They want to buy iPhone. You are thinking about your family. They are thinking about iPhone, and that is what the society holds for them. So is there any hope for them? We just continue to pray for them and pray for the country, because they are leaders. They are leaders of tomorrow. They are our tomorrow. So we have to continue to have faith and pray for them.
Okay, well, when you mention money, and right, there's one slang that the young people use right now. It's called Aza. So, boy, make I send you my Aza. I know that. Okay,
I'm hearing for the first time.
You might not be.
You are not Gen Z.
You're not Gen Z. So, but they call it Aza.
Okay.
That is, I think it's your bank details.
Okay.
Okay, so let me send you my Aza so that you can. I'm glad I've been able to at least.
I've learned something.
But as it stands right now, these are form part of their conversation, while the adults, the elderly, are blaming the teenagers and the youth, the boy child to be precise, on some of these delinquencies. The boy child, teenagers and youth are quick to point accusing fingers on the elderly, That is, they learned some of those things from the elders, and they're trying to remodify the system. Do you think as a society, or don't you think as a society, is what we've given to the youth that they are giving back to us?
I agree with you. There's high level of corruption in this country. We have read, we have seen people in high positions stealing billions. There was one time I read of an ex-minister having almost 500 million cash in the house. Yeah, she has children. When they see the money, now you tell me they will not look for a way to also get that money. So everything they do is to get money because they see what their parents are doing. So they learn most of these things from the parents. So I believe that it's high time the parents begin to get it right, because they are copying. And you know, when a child copies anything from the parents, he will do more, because you are praying that your children
should be greater than you.
So if you are stealing, if you are stealing, then you should know that your children, they will steal more than you do. If you are stealing 1,000 naira, they will steal 10,000. So they will double or multiples of what you are doing. So, and that is why it's good for the parents to be of good examples to their children, and the society will be a better place.
Okay, just as we begin to get into this conversation, let's take this conversation back to history.
Okay.
And I want to find out from you, like many Nigerians out there and viewers across the world, we want to also hear from you. At what point did we miss it as a country?
That's a big question. Before, you don't even hear of corruption. Before, the society was very clean. You can keep. You don't care about keeping your things because nobody will come and steal it. Before, do you have all these abokis moving about in society? No. Every place was. The life was good. The society was also good. The governments were, to their responsibility, their response to the society needs was there. Nobody cares. But now, what do we have? We have children that don't want to go to school. What is government even doing to ensure that they are in schools? So there's corruption now, and it has actually changed the face of everything. And that's why we find ourselves where we are. So it's that time we begin to get it right in the society. That's also rub us on our future.
So invariably, there's no statistics to say that we missed it between the year 1994, 1995, and 1996.
That is what I'm saying.
So
We're saying
if you can place a figure.
I told you about the era when we have Gowan, that we had excess money, that the government doesn't even know what to do with the money. And that was what brought out the Udoji then. I don't know whether you heard that.
Yeah, Udoji Commission.
Yes, because there was too much money, nothing to do. There was safety. I remember, around the late 90s, let me put it that way. I traveled at night from Abuja to Kano. I left Abuja. I drove. I was not afraid of any security. The road was clear. I left Abuja 8:30 p.m. Went straight to Kano, and there was no fear, nothing. But now, can you do that now? So things have changed. And what brought about is corruption. There is high level corruption in every sphere of our endeavors. Even the informal sectors, there's corruption. You go to buy fuel. If you don't watch the meter well, you'll be defrauded. The attendant will just collect you, rob you.
Even if you watch, you can still be defrauded. The more you know, the less you see.
So what is it? So those days, yes, there's not much corruption as we have, but now there's high level corruption. So the time past was better.
All right, just in case you're just joining us, this is still Signature Morning here on Signature Television, and we're talking with Dr. Babatunde Kayode, and we've been talking so far about the future of Nigerian juvenile in its system. But let's take the conversation a bit deeper, Dr. Kayode.
Yes.
At this point in time, you've always been at the forefront of restoring hope for the boy child, and you've always championed that cause. That's one thing you've always believed in. Going through your bios and you're doing the research on your personality, I've seen how you've always stood out for the boy child.
Yes.
But then, as it stands right now, share with us what has always inspired your passion for the boy child, despite the fact that the society, you seem to be the only one standing for this cause even right now in Nigeria.
All right, let me tell you briefly that MNI you saw or you are seeing on my name, after my name is, I'm a member of the National Institute. I haven't gone through the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSCURU. Our motto there is towards a better society. So we are trained to see how we can better the society, and that was what informed the establishment of this NGO, Restore for the Boy Child. I look at the society, the boy child is neglected. You hear so much about get child, get child, get child, get child. How many times have you heard people discussing, was there any gathering of any group or whatever group on the boy child? No. And most of the crimes we have in society now have been championed by the boy child. Anyone you want to talk about, is it drug? We have more. Depression, what? Is it Yahoo? We have more. Is it banditry? We have more. So the neglect of the boy child is just too much. And I believe that there is need for the society, the government also to begin to close that gap. Let there be gender equality. We are not in any competition with the girl child, no. We want, but what we are saying in the NGO is as you care, as you do for the girl child, also do for the boy child also. But what we have, even the government, they talk about women and children. What you understand, but the children basically are the girl child. When they talk about anything, it's maybe empowerment or skill, they say for women and the children. But basically, those children are the girl child.
Well, Dr. Kayode, I haven't read some of your works,
Yes.
and so far, I begin to ask myself that, to a very large extent, are you sure that Dr. Kayode is not vying for the Minister of Boy Child, the Ministry of Boy Child, or Minister of Men Affairs?
All I'm saying
No,
is
to a large extent,
I'm an advocate.
To a large extent, I've read your works, and I sometimes
Yes.
begin to imagine if you're not advocating for a Ministry of
I won't.
Ministry of Men
It's not
Affairs.
too much. It's not too much. Honestly, it's not too much. It's not too much. If the government look in that way, in fact, as a matter of fact, we're in the plan of paying a courtesy visit to the President of the Senate and the Speaker of House of Representatives to share our aims and objectives and ambition and with them, and let them see what is the damage the society is doing to itself by the neglect of the boy child. Some senators, they can't go to their villages now, to their states, because they are afraid they'll be attacked. And who attacks them is the boy child. They are waiting for them there. So it's high time they begin to empower them, just the way they empower the women. You see a lot of empowerment. Most of them do empowerment. They buy sewing machine, grinding machine. You understand? Have you ever seen where they gather the boy child and empower them? When they empower them, they buy them keke napep, or they buy them tea. This for shy, or they give them wheelbarrow. But when they are empowering the girl child, they give them something reasonable, something that can better their lives. So if having the Ministry of
Men's Affairs,
then I'm very happy. Then I'll be fulfilled.
Because I said to myself,
I will be fulfilled.
whenever I have the opportunity of having you on air, I will always ask you that question. Dr. Kayode, all this your advocacy, is it that you're clamoring for the Ministry of Men's Affairs?
No, it's not too much. It's not too much. If we can have what give right to the Ministry of Women Affairs. Do you know, have you ever thought of, I don't know your profession, but every profession has the women wing. If you're talking about Nigerian Bar Association, they have the women wing of it. If you talk about the medical, they have the women wing. Every aspect, even armed forces, they have the women wing. What happens to the boys, the men there? And this is just, the women wing is like a pressure group for their welfare, for their needs and challenges to be solved. Now, the boy child, where does he go? Or who does he meet? So if creating a Ministry of Men's Affairs it's not too much. We're talking about equality. So whatever is good for the goose is good for the genders.
Well, Kayode, let's talk about even seeing your passion and advocacy for the boy child in general. Again, to a large extent, in the Nigerian educational curriculum, we've not seen a detailed approach to the development of the boy child. Could this also be a factor while to a very large extent, even a boy child that is schooled can easily be swayed into other vices?
Definitely. There's no any curriculum. There is none. And majority of the dropouts in schools now are the boy child. Statistics have gone around. I went to some schools in Abuja here to have an sports assessment. Just recently, about 2 weeks ago, the NGO went to a school and we realized that majority of the dropouts there they are boys. And we made some interventions. Not much. We were able to pick about 20 of them. This where we have is a junior secondary school in Buhari there. We have a lot of them drop out. The NGO had to make some interventions and call these boys because of school fees. How much is school fees? Not much. They drop out. We have to make payments for about 20 of the boys, and they are back in school now. They are back in school. So I think these are the things I want to see happening in the society. We have well-meaning Nigerians, well-to-do individuals that can write these ugly stories in our schools. So that is what I believe the society should be doing. These boys, they don't want to go to school again because they are seeing somebody that has read and did. How many they are running about there's high level of unemployment. So they see education has not been the right way to their life, to their destiny, but rather they see people that have not gone to school making it.
Dr. Kayode,
Yes.
in this conversation of the boy child, I've always admired your moves, but you are like one out of the millions pushing.
I pray that more people will see the light and join.
No, we're saying you're like one out of the million pushing for the boy child and advocating for the boy child. Even here in the Federal Capital Territory, you've always stood out for the boy's child. I can imagine you staying in court just to observe the minors that were brought into the courtroom at that point. But as it stands right now, can one Dr. Kayode change the narrative and the perception of the boy child in general? You think, and how long will it take before your impact begins to be felt for the boy child right to be adhered and to be upheld and to be recognized?
One of the things we believe in the NGO, Restore for the Boy Child Initiative, is to partners. It's for partnership. We want to partner with media, but just the way we are doing now.
Is there a time frame for it? Probably you're looking at probably a goal of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years.
At least in 10 years. Let's see what we can achieve. So we partner with But like on the 26th of June this year, we partnered with a drug law enforcement agency. It was international for drug abuse. You understand, anti-drug abuse. We partnered with them, and we had an advocacy meeting and enlightenment program in the Federal Government Boys College, Apo Garkidia. You understand? We invited the NDLA officer to educate us more and the boys on the danger and the various types of drugs. And we made flyers, distributed to them various types of drug addict. And I'm surprised that these boys, they know all of these drugs. As the man was mentioned, the one after they were just re-echoing it. I said, so it means that these boys, they are poor. So there is need for us to make this intervention. So it's not one man, it's not going to be one person's project. It's a project that everybody must be involved in. And we are ready to partner with media organizations, schools, government agencies, and other people that we think that yes, we can partner with to ensure that the right of the boy is achieved.
Look out, there's this old cliche that says that it takes two to tango. The boy child might be isolated, doing his thing, but it is not far-fetched that he's always getting a pat on the back, probably from the female folks. By extension, in your advocacy for the boy child, are you also looking at also having some form of corroboration with the female gender in order to create a balance even for in these conversations?
Yes.
All right.
Like the NGO, we have partnership with so many women NGOs, and we partner together. We have their program. We also go there to speak. There we have they come, so we are in partnership with them. So there's no problem about that.
Okay, so when you partner with them,
but usually in usual cases, if I ask you now, majority of the people in Yahoo are they boy child or girl child?
No,
so you have to see the influence when it takes two to tango. Yes, I agree with you, but most of the time the boy child brings this girl into some of these crimes. Armed robbery. If you find any girl participating in armed robbery, is brought in by a boy, or whether the boyfriend or the man. You understand what I'm saying? So the influence of the girl child on the boy child is minimal, but in most cases the boy child influence. So there's need. By the time we're able to cut down the activities of the boy child in criminality, then we'll reduce that of the girl child participating in crime.
Okay, just as we begin to get ready to start packing our things to leave the studio, the boy child out there is watching us and they want to hear from you. At this point, have the society failed the boy child?
Yes. I want to say that yes, I agree the society has failed them. Is this educationally? Those boys that were brought to the courtroom, if they are in school, will they participate in protest? They are supposed to be in school. Those minors were detained for such a long period. They are supposed to be in school. Is our education system okay? No. There are so many schools that you go now, you won't find bench, you won't find there's nowhere to sit. Some of them they sit on the bare floor. Some even take their lectures, their lessons under the trees. Go to the schools, dilapidated and eyesore. So what has society given to the youth, to the boy child, to encourage him to education? Nothing. So what about his mental well-being? Nothing. There is hardship. There is corruption. So I think there is need for the government and the entire society to begin to do more to encourage the boy child so that we can have a better society.
Dr. Kaude, just on a final take, And I'm going to come personal on you at this point. In one of your write-up that I went through, it was fantastically written, but along the line, I was I wanted to get an angle to the story,
Okay.
which is, thank God we're on air together. So share with us because this exceptional passion for the boy child that we've seen resonate in you over the years, it tends to be something more. But share with us your upbringing, and perhaps this must have led to you becoming so passionate about the boy child. And let's get the opportunity of hearing
Okay.
that
Yes,
story for.
yes. It's very interesting. On the personal note, I I lost my dad when I was in Form 3, and there was no hope for me to continue. Now that is what you call GS3, GS3 now. So there was no hope for me to even start SS1. Let me put it that way now. That's what you have now. I resumed. I could not pay because my mother was not doing anything. But through to support of one or two persons, I was able to manage to form is it Form 5 now. I can't remember, Form 5. I couldn't pay. Even the cost of like how much was it? How much was the school fees then? I couldn't pay. But do you know that is somebody that was not my family member, just a friend to my dad. I just went to visit him. And have you finished school? I said yes. Where is the result? Because I did not pay school fees. I couldn't have results. So he now gave me money. That was how the man came into my life. He gave me hope. So and I believe that every boy child. And now, by the grace of God, at least professionally, I'm a medical person, a medical doctor, doctor of veterinary medicine. Just because that man gave that boy child an opportunity to go to school. And that's what makes me what I am today. So if everyone can give that boy child the opportunity, that boy child will become something that will impact the society. And that's what I'm doing now. So I can't do less. That is the summary.
That's a first-hand information. So let's. I know I said that is going to be the last conversation, but that was expository because it has given us the base to what has fueled your passion into advocating for the boy child.
Yes.
But lastly, before we go, let's talk about the end bad governance protest that even led these minors that we alleged minors that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has
Ordered for
their release. Let's talk about the end bad governance protest. Do you think at this point that what do you make of the scenario if the boy child is not given adequate attention? In your kind words, do you think Nigerian at this point is sitting on a time bomb?
Exactly. No, if you don't need any prophets or anybody to tell you that there are dangers waiting to happen. There are dangers waiting to happen because of lack of care, lack of support. Nobody speaks to them. Nobody talks to them. Nobody gathers them to hear what are their problems. So they don't have anybody where to go. And the only way is to decide what to do and vent their anger on the society. And that is why you see when the leaders are passing, what will you hear? You hear them shouting, Oli, Oli, Barao, Barao. Do you understand what I'm saying? We are in the society, we know what it is. Let's be real. Because these boys, they are feeling that yes, nobody cares for them. They only care for them, which is the truth. Which is the truth. Who cares for them? So I think the high time we begin to look at the side of this boy, these children, or else we have so many to contend with in this country. Not only hunger, but with criminalities. So it's high time.
Well, Dr. Cowdy, I really want to appreciate you for finding time to be with us in the studio this morning and talking about the boy child. Of course, one that I've never met you before won't know how passionate you are about the boy child, but mere listening to you today, again, has also resonate with our spirits and some of the importance of the boy child. Thank you so much for being in the studio today.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
And hope when next we need you, you'll be available for us.
I will definitely.
All right, especially when it has to be talking about the boy child. Well, this is the size of the package for the show today. And don't forget to follow us on all our various social media handle. Should you want to do that right away, you can follow us on the social media handle displayed on the screen. I am Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. From all of us here in the studio, it's bye for now.